Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to Unit 3, Week 5. Let's go ahead and get started with our vocabulary. Your first word is the word characteristics. So characteristics are the qualities or features that are usually found in a person, an animal, a group, or a thing. So the code sets which characteristics the corn will inherit. So characteristics could be, for example, if we're talking about birds, a certain characteristic may be the shape of their beak or the length of their claws, or what kind of feathers do they have? Do they have short little feathers or longer ones? So characteristics are the qualities or the features of a person, a group, an animal, a thing. Your next word is the word resistance. Resistance is the ability to resist or to fight against or withstand something, such as a disease. So you can build up a resistance to certain kinds of illnesses, like when you take your flu shot, for example, you're helping your body build a resistance against catching the flu. Or pets, when you give them their medications, they build a resistance against catching anything that pets usually get, such as fleas. Next, you have the word concerns. Someone who has concerns is worried about something. So concerns are worries. So if you have concerns about something, you're talking about something that you're not sure about, something that you're worried about. Next, we have the word prevalent. Something that is prevalent is common, or it's generally used or accepted. There's a lot of it. It's not something new or unique. It's something that's more widely used. Next, we have the word disagreed. Disagreed means that they don't agree, right? The prefix dis means not. So to disagree means to not agree, or the opposite of agree. That means you picked something different. You didn't go with the option that someone gave you. You disagreed with it and you went with something else. Now, the next word is the word inherit. When you inherit something, that means you're receiving it or you're getting it, usually from your parents. So you inherit certain characteristics from your parents. You might have the same eye color as your mom, the same curly hair as your dad. You may be you might have the same looking features, the same nose shape, or your hands look similar to one of your parents. These are traits that you inherit or you get from your parents. Next, we have the word advancements. Advancements are progress or improvements. So we can say many scientific advancements have happened recently, especially considering everything we're going through right now. There's a lot of scientific advancements as far as research and developing medications and treatments and vaccines. And our last word today is the word agriculture. So agriculture is basically the study or the business of farming. We call that agriculture. Now, our spelling words for this week are all compound words, and we've worked with compound words in the past. We're going to work with them a bit more this week. So our words this week are fishbowl, lookout, yardstick, desktop, campfire, overhead, waterproof, grandparent, railroad, snowstorm, loudspeaker, bookcase, bedroom, blindfold, newborn, bedspread, yourself, overdue, clothesline, undertake, dresses, arrows, babies, eyesight, and paperweight. Now remember, a compound word is when you put two regular words together to make a new word. This is not like adding a prefix or a suffix or any kind of inflectional ending to the word. They're two separate words that are whole words on their own that you put together to make a new word with a new meaning. Let's go on to our grammar and ELA notes. So this week, our grammar and ELA notes are pretty dense. We're talking about regular and irregular verbs. So there's a lot of content here. So you guys are going to need to revisit this section, revisit the video, watch it carefully because there's a lot of material here. Now we know that a verb tells you what the subject is or does. So to find the verb, ask yourself, what is the sentence telling us that the subject is or that the subject is doing? Regular past tense verbs end with ed, like the word walked, right? Walk becomes walked. irregular past tense verbs do not end this way, but they're written 3 different ways, and I color-coded them so you can see the difference. The first way is it can be written as a different word. So run becomes ran, leave becomes left, take becomes took, and so on. The second way is that the word does not change form at all. There's no spelling change. And the third way is if it's written with an N or EN at the end, while also using a helping verb before it. So it's helping verb plus your regular verb with an N or an EN at the end. So let's take a look at some of these options. So irregular past tense verbs where the whole word changes. So I've given you guys several examples here. Sit becomes sat, make becomes made, go becomes went, teach becomes taught, and several other ones here that I have in this pinkish red color. Now, words that do not change form, that are both past tense and present tense, are in green. So cut, set, read, hit. Now, I'm telling you no spelling change. I didn't say no pronunciation change because read becomes read. Today, I will read the book. Yesterday, I read the book, but the spelling stays the same. Oh, I apologize. I put it twice here for you guys. Hit, hurt, let, put, quit, set, shut, spread. These words do not change forms. So I can say, she spread some butter on her bread yesterday. She will spread butter on her toast tomorrow. You can see that the word doesn't change. Yesterday, he hit the ball. He will hit the ball. Today, he hit the ball. The word doesn't change form. Now, another way you can take an irregular verb and make it past tense is to add a helping verb before your main verb and then add an N or an EN to the end of it. So if it already ends with an E, a lot of times you'll just add the N, but you'll see different examples. So the rule varies over here. So your helping verb plus that main verb that you're working with an N or EN at the end. So has or have eaten. So instead of saying eat becomes ate, instead of saying yesterday he ate his apple yesterday he's eaten, or he has eaten his apple yesterday. Had or have, instead of knew becomes known. Had or have stolen. Had or has done. Has or have seen. We have seen that play already, or we saw that play already, right? There are different ways that you can say it. He took or he has taken. So these are just different ways that you can use past tense verbs. So you can either change the form. If it's one that doesn't need to change form, it's in green, and ones where you can either change the form or add an N or EN to the end of it are the ones that are in purple. Now remember our common helping verbs. We've got 3 of them that have several forms. So to be, to have, or to do. So to be, our helping verbs has different forms. So am, is, are, was, were, be, and been. Have, has, or had. And do, does, or did. These are all helping verbs. Now we know some of these show tense already. So the past tense ones are was, were, did, been, or had. These tell you about something that already happened in the past. Present tense ones is, am, are, does, do, has, have. Those are telling you about things that are happening right now. And future is will be, will do, or will have. So all of these are the regular ones we already know, they end with ed. These are some of the irregular verbs and how to change it into an irregular past tense verb. So either we change the spelling where the whole word changes, we change nothing at all, or we add a helping verb and N or EN onto the main verb. Now, next we're going to talk about some of our roots. So Greek roots. So many of the common words that we use in the English language come from Greek. And to help us understand the words, we look at the meaning of the root word. If we can figure out the meaning of the root word, it helps us figure out what that whole word is talking about. So if we have the Greek root phys, P-H-Y-S, we know that phys relates to nature or the body. So a physician is a doctor who's qualified, right, to treat the body. Physiology is the study of the body. Physics is the study of how things move in nature, like gravity and things like that, how they affect each other, pushes and pulls. Next, we have the root gen, G-E-N. Gen means birth or kind. So when we're talking about a generation, we're talking about people that belong to the same kind of age group. If we're studying genealogy, we're studying family trees. Next, we have the root dec, D-E-C. And dec means 10. So a decade is 10 years. A decagon is a shape that has 10 sides. And the last one we're going to look at today is the root chron, C-H-R-O-N. So chron means time. So if I'm asking you to write something in chronological order, I'm asking you to write it in order that it happened. So first, second, third, fourth. Give it to me in order according to time, chronological. We also have the example chronic, something that is ongoing or it keeps happening. So if someone has a chronic illness, that means it's happening continuously over time. It's not something they're healing from. It's something they're dealing with for a long period of time. We're also going to talk about root words and related words. So we're looking at the very, very simplest form of certain words and different words that are related to it. So either they have prefixes and suffixes or they have extra additives onto those words, but they still come from the same meaning that comes from that root word. So remember, root words, we talked about simplest form of something. They can either stand alone as one word, but sometimes they can't. Sometimes they need something added onto them. So the base words that are listed below are ones that can stand alone as a word. The ones that we were looking at above, the Greek roots, are ones that you need something added to it to make it a whole word. Related words are the root word with additional letters on them, like prefixes or suffixes or something to add to the meaning. So the first root word that we're looking at is act. So act means to move or do. So an actor is someone who's moving or doing things in a particular way to line up with a story. Same with acting, or reenact means to move. Reenact means to move in a way to show something that had already happened. So you're kind of repeating those actions. Next, we have the root cardio, and cardio means heart. So if you're studying the cardiovascular system, you're talking about the heart and circulation and how your body functions. If we're looking at an electrocardiogram, we're monitoring your heartbeats, right, to see if your heart is beating normally. If you're studying cardiology, you're studying the heart and all the different functions of the heart. Our next root is norm. Norm means something that's typical. So normal, abnormal, normally, paranormal. These are all words that are related to the root word norm. And the last one we're going to talk about today is the word auto. So auto means self. If you're reading an autobiography, you're reading a story that someone wrote about themselves, about their own life. A biography is the story of someone's life. An autobiography is the story of your own life. So you are the author. If you have something that's automatic, it works by itself, like an automatic car. Some cars have an automatic parking feature, right? So you can push a button, it'll park the car for you. Or autonomy, something that is independent. And last, we're going to talk about final E syllables. Now, this is something we touched on a little bit in the past. A final E syllable usually has the VCE in it. So vowel, consonant, and then a silent letter E. Those are usually the last three letters in a final E syllable, which is also called a VCE syllable. So vowel, consonant, silent E. And these are the last syllable of the word. Now, these also have a long vowel sound in them. So when you're seeing that vowel, then a consonant and silent E, you know that first vowel is going to make a long vowel sound. So I have some examples for you over here. So we have the word excuse. Excuse, you're going to split it into X. That's going to be your first syllable. And then hues, you hear that long U sound in it. So it has that vowel, consonant, and silent E. Reptile, same thing. Rep is your first syllable and tile is your second syllable. You're hearing the I in tile, vowel, consonant, E. Invite, describe, police, oppose. All of these, you're hearing a long vowel sound in that final syllable before in that final syllable that has that vowel, consonant, silent E, that VCE syllable in it. Next, we're going to get into your weekly stories. So we're going to open up our books and we're going to open up our reading and writing workshop as well as our literature anthology. And we're going to jump into Unit 3, Week 5, a new kind of corn.
Genre, persuasive article. Time for kids. A new kind of corn. Essential question. In what ways can advances in science be helpful or harmful? Read two different perspectives on Bt corn. Advances in science have changed the way farmers grow corn. These advancements have also made consumers think about what they eat. Have you heard of Bt corn? Probably not, but you have probably eaten it. Bt corn is grown all over the world. The crop is used in many foods, including tortilla chips and cornmeal. It is also used to make high fructose corn syrup, a sweetener prevalent in many foods and drinks. Bt corn is a genetically modified food. To make Bt corn, scientists change the genetic code of corn. This code sets which characteristics the corn will inherit. Bt corn contains an insect-killing gene. The gene comes from a bacterium called Bacillus thuringiensis, or Bt. These changes make the corn produce poison. The poison kills only insects that are harmful to it, such as rootworm beetles or caterpillars called European corn borers. This characteristic makes it unnecessary for farmers to spray pesticide in their cornfields. Uses of corn. When you think of corn, it might call to mind fresh corn on the cob, but how much do humans actually consume? The pie chart below shows the uses of corn in the United States according to the Environmental Protection Agency. 8% industrial use, 12% human consumption, 80% animal feed. A European corn borer feeds on an ear of sweet corn. Some farmers are turning to Bt corn to keep pests like corn borers from damaging their crops. Point, counterpoint. Bt corn is better, a farmer's perspective. I began growing Bt corn on my farm back in 1996. Up until that point, I never knew if what was planted would yield a crop I could sell. Now I am confident going into each growing season. The use of Bt corn has lessened use of pesticides. That is great for the environment and saves time and money. I no longer have to spray the fields with costly pesticides. Further, I no longer worry about being exposed to the toxic chemicals. Many people have raised concerns about the poison in Bt corn. It is only toxic to rootworm beetles and corn borers. Other insects seem to thrive where sprayed pesticides are not used. Planting Bt corn has increased both profit and productivity on my farm and farms around the world. This makes it especially good for developing countries where corn is a staple in human and animal diets. The savings to farmers are passed on to people who buy the corn. Plus, having more food available in hungry nations is a very good thing. The benefits of Bt corn continue to grow. That is why more and more farmers are planting it in the fields. Where is GM food grown? Though the United States is the biggest producer of genetically modified foods, enhanced crops are grown all over the world. Orange, genetically modified food is grown today. Beige, genetically modified foods are not grown. A scientist examines root damage from pests on a normal corn plant, left, and on Bt corn, right. Counterpoint, point. Bt corn could be bad, a consumer's concern. Bt corn has been on the market since the late 1990s with little research on the long-term consequences. Yet farmers are producing genetically modified GM crops at an alarming rate. I can't help but wonder about these recent advancements in agriculture. What are the long-term effects of GM foods on humans and the environment? Is Bt corn really safe to grow and eat? Much of the testing of GM foods has been done on lab rodents. The results of those tests haven't been very promising. In some reports, mice have developed lesions in their stomachs from eating GM foods. Rats have died prematurely for unstated reasons during these tests. If this is any indication of what may happen to humans, we should rethink stocking our supermarkets with unlabeled GM foods. Consumers should know what they are buying and eating. Over time, pests can build a resistance to any pesticide. A 2011 study shows that rootworm beetles are already developing resistance to Bt corn. If these rootworms can eat Bt corn and survive, why grow it? There is also a growing concern about the impact of Bt corn on other insects, such as monarch caterpillars. Farmers have a responsibility to ensure their crops do not harm the physical environment and all of its inhabitants. To protect future generations, more research is needed for all of the effects of Bt corn to become clear. A consumer who disagrees with the sale of Bt corn attends a protest. Genre: Procedural text. Time for kids. Compare texts. Read how you can grow a giant pumpkin. The pick of the patch. This world record-breaking pumpkin tipped the scales at more than 1,810 pounds. What is the secret to growing a giant gourd? According to record breaker Chris Stevens, sunshine, rain, cow manure, fish, fertilizer, and seaweed. Read on for a recipe you can recreate at home. Growing a giant pumpkin takes knowledge and skill. Follow these 6 simple steps to grow your own great gourd. 1. Study up on seeds. Some popular pumpkin seeds that get big results include Prize Winner Hybrid, Atlantic Giant, Mammoth Gold, and Big Max. Many are sold online for just $1. 2. Take your time. Giant pumpkins need time to grow. May is a good month to plant seeds in a pot. Let them make advancements in that safe space before you transplant them outside. Plant them in good quality soil and fertilize them well. 3. Protect your pumpkin plants. Watch out for bugs and other pests that could attack the plants. Prevent wind from damaging them by putting up a fence or plastic tarp. 4. Help your gourd grow. Agriculture is a science that is not always automatic. Hand-pollinating the flowers will increase your chances of growing a giant gourd. Use a small paintbrush or cotton swab to spread pollen from the male flower to the female flower. A female flower has a little pumpkin at the base of its petals. 5. Pick your best bet. Pumpkins compete with each other to get the best nutrients from the vine. In order to give your gourd a better chance to grow, select the best and biggest pumpkin on each vine and remove all other pumpkins. 6. Continue with care. Water and fertilize your pumpkins regularly until it is time to harvest. Way to grow. Before pollinating, make sure the flowers are open. Keep a daily record of your gourd's growth.
All right, let's get into our readers and writers workshop. So again, we're going to go to Unit 3, Week 5, and go through our stories there.
Food fight. Is it safe to interfere with Mother Nature? An incredible thing is happening to our food. Some scientists are using a technique called genetic modification to make superior food crops. It involves altering a seed's genes. Genes are the instruction codes that all living things have inside their cells. A seed's genetic code sets what characteristics it will inherit when it grows into a plant. These could mean how big it will grow and the nutrients it will contain. For thousands of years, farmers made crops better by crossbreeding plants. They would add pollen from the sweetest melon plants to the flowers of plants that produced the biggest melons. This would make new plants with big, sweet melons. But this process does not always work. The cycle of crossbreeding can take years to get good results. But advances in gene science have created amazing shortcuts. Using new tools, scientists can put a gene from one living thing into another. That living thing could be a plant, a bacterium, a virus, or even an animal. These foods are called genetically modified foods, or GM foods. The goal of GM foods is to create foods that can survive insects or harsh conditions, or can grow faster. But are these advancements in agriculture good for us? Support for superfoods. Scientists believe the new techniques can create crops with a resistance to pests and disease. BT corn is a genetically modified corn. It has an insect-killing gene that comes from a bacterium. Farmers who grow BT corn can use fewer chemicals while they grow their crops. That is good for the farmer and the environment. Some superfoods are extra nutritious. Golden rice has been genetically modified with 3 different genes. One gene is a form of bacterium. The other 2 are from daffodils. The new genes help the rice to make a nutrient that prevents some forms of blindness. Superfoods. These foods may seem common, but did you know that the genetically modified versions have special powers? Rice. Rice contains phytic acid. Too much of this acid can be bad for people. A new type of rice has been bred with a low level of phytic acid. Salmon. To create supersized salmon, scientists changed the gene that controls growth. The genetically altered salmon grow twice as fast as their wild cousins. Tomatoes. Genetically engineered tomatoes can be picked when they are ripe and still not bruise when shipped. One food company tried to use an Arctic flounder fish gene to create a tomato that could survive frost. The fish tomato did not succeed. Safety issues. Many people have disagreed with the idea that GM foods are a good idea. They worry GM foods will hurt the environment and humans. One concern is that plants with new genes will crossbreed with weeds to make pesticide-resistant weeds. Another concern is that GM foods may trigger allergies. Genetically modified crops are prevalent in the U.S., but some people will not buy them because of health concerns. As a result, many companies avoid GM foods, although there is no physical evidence that they are unhealthy. Time will tell. Genetically modified foods have not hurt anyone. Most genetic researchers think that if troubles do crop up, they will be manageable. It is important to keep researching GM foods because these types of foods can better fight the world's chronic hunger problems. Hunger in Africa. Map key. Percentage of people that are not getting enough food. Lavender, over 35%. Peach, 20 to 34%. Gray, 10 to 19%. Yellow, 5 to 9%. Light green, less than 5%. Pink, not enough data.
All right, let's get into our comprehension strategy and skills for this week. Our comprehension strategy, again, is to reread. Now, when you reread something, you're getting more insight, you're getting clarification on what you're reading, right? When you're seeing it a second time, you're noticing the things you might have missed the first time around, or things that you didn't understand really well. You'll usually understand them better the second time around when you reread and you look at that information again. Our comprehension strategy this week will be about the author's point of view, which is basically looking at the writing through the author's eyes. What is it that they're trying to show you? What is their position or their view, or what kind of point are they trying to make? So let's go ahead and read through these.
Reread. When you read informational text, you may come across facts and details that are new to you. As you read Food Fight, remember the difficult sections to make sure you understand and remember new information in the text. Find text evidence. You may not be sure you understand why genetically modified foods are created. Reread the last 2 paragraphs on page 223 in Food Fight, which explain the goal behind genetically modified foods. But advances in gene science have created amazing shortcuts. Using new tools, scientists can put a gene from one living thing into another. That living thing could be a plant, a bacterium, a virus, or even an animal. These foods are called genetically modified foods, or GM foods. The goal of GM foods is to create foods that can survive insects or harsh conditions, or can grow faster. But are these advancements in agriculture good for us? I read that the goal is to create foods that can survive insects and harsh conditions. From this, I can draw the inference that scientists are trying to help farmers. Author's point of view. Authors have a position or point of view about the topics they write about. Look for details in the text, such as the reasons and evidence the author chooses to present. This will help you to figure out the author's point of view. Find text evidence. When I reread page 224 of Food Fight, I can identify details in the text that explain and support the author's position or attitude. Then I can figure out the author's point of view. Graphic organizer. Details. Farmers who grow Bt corn use fewer chemicals. Using fewer chemicals is good for the environment. Some GM foods have been created to be extra nutritious. Caption. Look for evidence the author presents.
All right, next let's talk about our genre. Now, our genre is an informational text, but it's also a persuasive article. So we know informational text gives us information, but a persuasive article, what makes that unique is it's sharing an opinion and it's trying to convince you that that opinion is correct. So the author is sharing their opinion. They're telling you why they believe that, why you should believe that, why you should agree with them. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is to review some of those Greek roots that we were talking about earlier in our notes.
Persuasive article. Food Fight is a persuasive article. A persuasive article is nonfiction stating the author's opinion on a topic. Provides facts and examples to persuade the reader to agree with the author's opinion. May include text features such as charts and maps. Find text evidence. Food Fight is a persuasive article. It states the author's opinion about GM foods. It includes facts that support the author's opinion and text features such as headings, charts, and maps. Text feature. Maps. Maps show geographic locations of specific areas of the world. They usually include a map key and a compass rose. Greek roots. Knowing Greek roots can help you figure out the meanings of unfamiliar words. Here are some common Greek roots that may help you as you read Food Fight. GEN equals race, kind. PHYS equals nature. CHRON equals time. Find text evidence. When I read the word cycle on page 223, I know the Greek root CYCL means circle. The word process also provides a clue. Cycle means a series of events that recur regularly. But this process does not always work. The cycle of crossbreeding can take years to get good results.
All right, that takes us to the end of our notes for this week. Please let me know if you guys have any questions. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.